my little shadows. Guess who's back? It's me, the Shadow Reader, here again to sit there and tell you all another wonderful little experience of mine in regards to, well, a place that I was banned from. Now, before I get into this little story of mine, let me actually sit there and discuss a little bit of things about McDonald's. McDonald's was obviously one of those places I enjoyed going to when I was younger. However, I do remember, I think when I was around 9 or 10, that I absolutely hated McDonald's. And I think at this point in time, I think there was like a dark period of, or whatever, or something along those lines was going on in that store that pretty much involved everyone being completely and utterly ridiculous jackasses, because every time I went there, I'm not joking, people, when I sit there and say, I have gone there numerous times, and almost every time I went there when I was growing up, they fucked up my order in more ways than I could even count on my entire body. I'm not joking. Like, every time I ordered a freaking kid's meal, they would sit there and they would either put onions on my burger, which I hated. I hate onion, and I hate the little diced onions they have. Or they would sit there and completely forget to give me my toy that was in my freaking kid's meal box. Or, to make matters even worse, they would sit there and completely forget a whole lot of shit and it be completely and utterly different in the entire box or bag itself. I mean, that was always a problem, and I remember hating McDonald's so much for that reason. But, of course, as time progressed and everything, I kind of more or less branched out a lot more. Now, when I was younger, I was extremely picky, I will admit. The only thing I would ever get was what I always wanted to get. I rarely ever got the hamburgers because of, well, that obvious reason, because they had onions in it. I wouldn't eat anything with onions or anything with it. Hell, even anything that I didn't really like. The only thing I would ever get in that sandwich would either be a cheeseburger with only ketchup and mustard on it. No lettuce, no tomato, none of that. Like, seriously, I didn't want any of it. I was pretty picky, for the most part. I'm not anymore, though, but I certainly was at one period of time in my life, or not. But even with that being said, though, I still enjoyed McDonald's for the longest time. And hell, even now I still do. I don't eat it as often, which is good, because honestly, if I kept eating it, I'd probably be fatter than I already am now. But still, though, I mean, it was basically just, I like it. I mean, I've learned to explore a lot more when it comes to their food, and ultimately I fell in love with them again. Well, I did until this incident happened. How long ago did this happen, you might be asking? Well, it's kind of hard to say. I can't really recall too much that had happened, and I can't really remember how old I was, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say that I was around, say, 12 or 13 years old. Probably around the Renaissance time for me when it came to McDonald's. That made no sense, but you know what I mean. That was the period of time that I was starting to kind of branch off and everything and enjoying my meals and things like that, and actually not getting kids' meals anymore because I was freaking 12. I mean, why the hell would I want to get those anymore? But of course, I, was growing up at that period of time. I was starting to go through the early onslaughts of puberty, which, let me tell you people, is never a fun period of time. I was growing like crazy, and ultimately, because of it, I was a giant dumpster that would sit there and eat anything that moved. I'm not joking. I actually think I ate a few people at one point in time. Not really sure why I did. I was just so hungry at one point. I ran up to somebody, and I think I bit their head off and chewed it and ate it, like almost like that, like a snake. Huh. Yeah, puberty can do a lot of weird shit to you as you grow up. But of course, I mean, for me, I ate a few people, I got hungry, and I did a lot of weird shit. But still, though, I mean, I needed to eat. And of course, in order to make sure of it that my, my bills didn't go up, my food bills, and the fact of the matter that I didn't go to jail because of the fact that I would bite someone's head off because of how hungry I was, they actually took me to a lot of McDonald's. They took me a lot of, different places. They bought a lot more food. And this specific McDonald's, I believe it was in Slidell, Louisiana at one point. I think it's still there. In fact, I think it's the only McDonald's that actually managed to keep its original form. It's not all modernized, at least not on the outside. It actually looks like a regular old simple McDonald's. I mean, it's still that way even now, even after I passed by it. Although I probably shouldn't do that because I'd probably go to jail if I did that. But still, it's still the same looking old McDonald's, and that's honestly really damn awesome. I mean, at least to me that is. But even with that being said, it came by at around like I said, when I was 12. It was, I wouldn't even really say it was quick, to be honest. Obviously, the drive-thrus were all broken. That seems to be a huge theme in regards to every time I go to a freaking restaurant. Every fast food joint, their fast food lines are either completely down or they're packed to the brim. But of course, like for this one, it was closed down for repairs because somebody had apparently thrown a bunch of baby diapers at them and getting shit and piss and a bunch of other random bodily fluids and things like that all over the place. Then again, next door to it was another fur rest or, oh god, no, not that. I think a bunch of furries had a bunch of filled diapers and they wanted to fuck with people, so they threw it at that. Oh dear god, I don't even want to remember that. That's another rant for another day. But of course, I, myself being the disgusted kid that I was at that time, not even knowing what the fuck a furry even was, I just went inside of the restaurant and sit there and I waited in line. It was a long line, to be completely and utterly frank with all of you. And when I mean long as all hell. The line was so freaking long that instead of actually stretching out from outside, it didn't end when it went outside. It ended at the very corner of the freaking play place. And there were two separate rooms in that place. There was the main dining area and there was the play place. Now, me being a 12-year-old kind of guy and being extremely freaking hungry, I was honestly at that point, really pissed off. I was going to leave because I wasn't in the mood to deal with that shit. I certainly wasn't. I wanted to sit there and get my freaking food, stuff my freaking face, and then take my fat ass outside and go and do whatever it is that I wanted to go do. Of course, with all that and everything, was not happening. And of course, the line was going slower and slower, but by the time that the thought of actually leaving came by, I knew that I couldn't do that because that ultimately would have meant that I had wasted like 20, 30 minutes sitting in a line that when I should have just automatically left, and that would have pissed my parents off, and I would have had to deal with a bunch of crap when I got home, which is not something I ever want to deal with, especially after the Taco Bell incident. Oh dear God, that was an interesting one. But still, I was patient. I didn't know too much about YouTube at the time, so I wasn't on my phone. I don't even think they had smartphones back then. They probably did, but I don't think that they were extremely mainstream as they are now. And I didn't really know too much about YouTube, so I wasn't really browsing anywhere at that period of time. I was just standing there listening to the crappy music that they were playing. And yes, it was Justin Bieber's Baby, which at that period of time, I don't know if that actually came out then or now, but honestly, it was terrible. I think I almost nearly clawed out my own eyes after listening to it. Why my own eyes? I don't know why, to be honest. I had this weird thing where I really wanted to just claw out the opposite orifice and everything that whenever I got pissed off. Still weird, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm standing in this line and everything, and there's like a bunch of people in front of me, and this one guy in front of me is like probably fat as fuck. Like, he's not like, your average everyday kind of chubby guy. He's not even like one of those crazy morbidly obese people. He's none of those things. This guy literally looks like something out of a movie. He literally looks like Jabba the Hutt, but with a human head on top instead of the fucking creepy face off of Star Wars. Literally, the guy was that fucking big. And I think and you want to know what was even scarier? That guy, he didn't walk. He didn't walk anywhere. He didn't even have one of those motorized scooters as I thought he would have. He rolled. I'm not joking. He literally rolled like a ball. His fat was so perfectly rounded. It was so perfectly 360 degreed that he could literally just roll slowly and just not bother anybody. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know. That it blew my mind at that time, and it still does. How was that even logically possible? How the hell was that even physically possible to do that kind of thing? It made no sense. It really genuinely didn't. But that was the least of my concerns. No, people, that was the least of my concerns at that period of time. So, I'm sitting there, well, standing there more or less, still waiting to get my food, still gawking over the fact that this fat fuck in front of me is literally rolling around like a ball and nobody gives a shit. I mean, and I'm just like looking at my watch and everything, and it's taking forever. The entire line is taking so fucking long. And, you know, I'm like, okay, can something just please happen that can alleviate this boredom I had? And right as I said that, some employee busted out of the bathrooms in full 70s regalia, or at least it looked like the 70s regalia, with a giant afro wig on top of his head, and a bunch of other multicolored things, and even platform shoes. And this McDonald's employee and everything, he was like, "Party time, motherfuckers!" And he immediately hit a button on the side of the wall that I didn't even notice when I walked in. And next thing I know, a bunch of disco balls, lights and everything just immediately plop out of the freaking ceiling tile, and everybody starts dancing. I don't know. It's like, it was so confusing. Everybody was dancing. Everyone was doing various dance moves and things like that was typical for the 70s. I mean, honestly, if I had a phone, I would have recorded that shit. It was fucking hilarious, but at the same time, it just made me even angrier. I was like a mixture between happy and angry. Is that even a possibility? That's so much of an oxymoron. But still, I was just staring at everyone like, what? Even the fat guy in front of me was rolling around, apparently what he called the spin ball, where he literally rolled around like a spinning top. Oh, dear God. And another one and then another weird guy that was vaguely familiar to a Rugrats character doing what he called the 69 dance. His thing honestly wound up poking a bunch of people in the process, though, and he got chased out by the manager. But even then, though, it was still relatively weird. And then after 5 minutes of it, it just stopped and everybody went right back to what they were doing. It was like nothing had ever happened. Yeah, after that entire burst of extreme randomness, I had to wait again. And so I finally get up to the counter, and I'm starving as all hell. I literally have claws growing out of my freaking fingertips because of how hungry and angry I am. I'm at this point where I'm about to sit there and kill a bunch of people. Probably should have done that. I would have avoided the situation in general. Oh, God. I should have done that. I should have at least eaten somebody. I could have eaten the fat guy in front of me, but apparently I couldn't do that, and I didn't want to do that. So I'm just standing there, and oh dear God, this woman, she herself was as terrifying can be. She was, I don't know if social justice warriors really existed back in 2012, but this person was more of a textbook definition of what they looked now, except worse. In fact, when I got up to her, she was wearing a giant shark mask. I don't know why, but I mean, I didn't know any shark-themed movies that were coming out, but she was literally wearing a giant shark fin mask and flippers for hands. And I'm just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And she immediately starts gargling. And I'm like, oh, what? What the fuck did you say? And then she says again. And I'm like, dude, what? What the hell are you talking? What are you saying? What the hell are you saying? I'm screaming this out and everyone's looking at me. And then all of a sudden this woman's like really fucking mad. She starts beating her freaking fist on the thing like that. And she's like, I have no idea what the hell she was saying. If anything, she sounded like a mixture of freaking Tasmanian devil and a bunch of crazy people with palsy. But I mean, it was fucking nuts. And I'm just about to snap at this point. So I just say, get me a fucking fillet of fish already. That's what I want. And then like that, everything went quiet. Hell, even the radio stopped. Like the person singing on it literally just stopped and gasped and then apparently was listening through it. I don't know how that was even possible with it being near the year 2012, but still. And I'm like, what? I ordered something. Is that what this person was asking me? I mean, apparently that was. I'm yelling at everybody at this point. And I'm just standing here. I'm hungry as all hell. And I mean, a bunch of people are literally just staring down at me, making it seem as though I said something extremely insulting. And like I said before, I'm confused. I don't know what in the world these people are so offended about. And then I look over at the cashier, who of course still has her shark, face on there, her mask, but the mask itself automatically starts moving, and I think I nearly pooped. I think I nearly shit myself when that happened. But her eyes literally went into a giant frown, and into like the most saddest face I could give. And then all of a sudden, she immediately just starts breaking down, crying for some reason. And she just starts going, I mean, literally, that was exactly what her crying was. And then all of a sudden, she immediately just jumped over the counter and started flip-flopping while she was crying and everything. And I'm like, okay, then. This is a bit over-dramatic, don't you think? And then, she's, beating her head on the table, going, and, she's, she just keeps on bawling. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I mean, and I think what's even worse is all of a sudden, her clothes start tearing off, and it's revealed that she has an extremely thin, human-like shark skin. Smooth shark skin. And she's, still screaming and crying and everything, and I'm looking at everybody who's now extremely fucking angry at me. They have this look of anger, they're gonna sit there and fucking murder me at this point. And I'm still confused. And I'm like, okay, seriously, can somebody please explain to me what I said? What did I say? And then all of a sudden, one of this random crazy psycho women, come up to me and said, "You are so offensive, young man." And I'm like, what? It was literally a young woman that sounded like an old lady, and it just made no fucking sense. "You should be so ashamed of yourself, young man, for saying that to her. You do know that she's a beautiful human fish hybrid thing. She's beautiful for who she is. You insulted her race by doing that. You racist piece of shit." And I'm processing this stuff in my brain, and I'm just speechless. Everybody else, of course, immediately starts, agreeing with her and everything, and a few people even flipped me off. I mean, of course, why would they do that to a 12-year-old? But who the hell knows, to be honest. And I'm still processing everything. I mean, I literally just walked in here for a stupid meal, a crappy meal from McDonald's. And not only did I have to wait in a long-ass line and sit there and have to deal with a random-ass dance party scene with giant globe of a human being in front of me rolling around me all the time. And then having to sit there and look at this stupid employee who supposedly is an actual shark woman. And I don't know. Apparently having her literally have a giant fucking hissy fit because of the fact of the matter that I supposedly said something about her so-called race. It made no sense. I mean, she was a fucking shark creature, which I didn't even know how that was possible. I mean, how do you do that? How the hell do you manage that? And then, just as I'm getting at least a fraction close to finally figuring everything out, the shark lady immediately gets up and just flops over the counter again, and then immediately turns to everybody who all, they go from their angry face to their deeply sad and depressed face, and then the shark lady goes and then everybody immediately just gasps, they understood what the hell she was saying. I had no fucking clue what she was saying. It seemed to me that a whole lot of, everybody knew what this person was. And then they immediately start screaming, "No, don't do it, don't do it." And then I'm just staring at her, confused. And, I mean, my brain's literally just turning off at this point. And I look over one more time, and she immediately flops over to the deep fryer, turns around, says, and then jumps right in, full body, and her entire body just sinks deep into it. Now, need I remind all of you that the McDonald's, their fryers, I've never worked at a McDonald's, So I guess I really wouldn't know, but I knew that the freaking fryers are not that deep, yet they managed to incorporate the entire woman, or shark lady, or whatever the hell she really was, incorporated the entire body in there. And everybody just immediately starts breaking down crying, some even like screaming in agony and like, oh, why, shark woman, why? And they're all just like crying their fucking eyes out at this point in time, and I'm like, what? How is that possible? That makes literally no sense. Why is this a thing? Somebody please explain this to me. And as I'm waiting, I'm just sitting there at this point. I'm literally sitting down on the ground, concerned, but at the same time, very, 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 very annoyed. And everybody's like bawling out, crying and everything, like literally like going into hysterics and everything at how sad they were. Like, I'm talking like screaming, crying, beating themselves over the wall, ripping out their hair and everything, doing the Macarena. I don't know. I didn't even know that was actually a mourner's kind of move, but apparently that supposedly is the case. And then next thing I know, as I'm sitting, I hear a ding, and everybody goes quiet again. And then out of the fryer that this fish lady immediately had popped out, had jumped into a giant Filet-O-Fish sandwich. The size of my freaking head. Actually, no, bigger than that. It was actually a lot wider than that. It was wider than my head. It was about the size of a computer. Like, opened up and everything. A big one, too. And this Filet-O-Fish sandwich and everything starts talking. Like literally. And I'm just really pissed off at my own self for the fact of the matter that I didn't bring a video camera to record any of this footage, and I'm even more freaked out over the fact that this is actually happening right before my eyes. I was honestly quite surprised that my family didn't immediately burst into the McDonald's wondering where the hell I was at. And my brain, I think, melted out of my ears, out of my head when I saw that. The fish fillet sandwich just immediately hovers over towards the counter was at. And with one of its bun appendages, I think, if you even really want to call it that, stretched, grabbed the hat and everything and put it right back. And then it said, "I'll take the next customer, please." And everybody just breaks down into tears again. And I'm hungry. At this point, every aspect of logic and reasoning and everything just kind of threw itself out of the window and burned itself to the ground. So I'm like, you know what? I don't care anymore. So I go up to this Filet-O-Fish sandwich and everything, and I look under at the top, and there's a couple people that are like gasping like crazy because of it. And I lift the top up, and thankfully there's no tartar sauce because I hate tartar sauce. I will not eat that stuff for the life of me. I would much rather die. And seeing as how there was no tartar sauce on there but like fresh ketchup or whatever, I decide that, you know what, I was not in the mood to pay $7 or $8 for a meal, and I wasn't in the mood to sit there and deal with any more drama, so I did something stupid. In fact, I did something so stupid that I can actually say that out of all the places I've been banned at, I think this one was a little bit more understandable, if you want to put it that way. I mean, kinda, sorta, maybe. I don't really even know anymore, to be honest. But yeah, I grabbed the giant fish fillet sandwich coworker that was once a giant walking, talking fish lady with crazy eyeballs and everything. I grab it, and it's heavy too. It's like 10 pounds. It's literally a giant 10-pound Filet-O-Fish sandwich, and people are screaming at me not to sit there and do it, but I take it and I break it in half and I eat it. The whole thing. In under 2 minutes. Yes, I was actually that hungry. Yes, I have that capability. Even now, I still have the capability of eating that quickly. And, of course, I did hear a lot of screams. Specifically coming from the Filet-O-Fish / human hybrid fish sandwich. She screamed. It screamed a lot, going, fish fillet sandwich, get it at Walmart. Literally, she said all of that. And as I take the final bite, she says this in perfect English: "Goodbye, cruel world." And I ate the last bit of her. I'm full. I'm completely and utterly satisfied at this point. I am ready to face the rest of my day. I wipe my face with a napkin. I throw it in the trash. And I'm just about to make my way out when the giant fat guy that I mentioned earlier, the giant round circular spherical mass of fat flesh and blood, organs, and other things, immediately rolls over towards the door, blocking it entirely. And I take a step back. What's going on? That's like, that was a question I asked. And I'm trying to find some way to kind of get around the guy, but the guy's face is literally just staring down at me with a look of pure anger, rage, and hatred. So much so to the point that, it was terrifying. Like, I don't think I've ever been terrified of fat people in my life, but seeing that, I think just scared me a lot. And I turn around immediately towards everybody else they're all still looking at me. Every single one of them with a murderous intent in their eyes. They're looking at me. They're angry at me. They look like they want to take me and rip me to shreds bit by bit. They want to rip out my toenails and my fingernails and shove them in my throat until I bled to death or choked. They look like they want to sit there and hang me across the freaking guardrail and just rip me into pieces like freaking, I don't know, Vlad the Impaler or something along those lines. I don't even know but still, they look like they wanted to kill me for what I had done. And I don't really say anything. I'm just like, okay, what's going on now? And everyone just immediately looks at me, and then one guy, like one crazy guy, like walks up to me and says, "You fishist." This guy spits in my face. What? That was like the only thing I could say. Literally, I think that's like the one thing I've said so far so many times during that experience. The guy takes me and he throws me on the ground, and I'm about to sit there and fight this guy. And then next thing I know, he pushes me again to the floor and he holds me down with his giant boot. He's like, "We're going to teach you disgusting fish monster eating dick. We're going to teach you a lesson." And that's what he says. Like, he actually stuttered terribly because of it. And I was like, oh God, dude, just shut up. Please, just shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to hear your voice. And everybody immediately, I know I'm saying immediately a lot, but it's true. The people there, literally within a nanosecond, pulled out melee weapons in distorted-looking McDonald's items in the shape of melee weapons. I'm talking a Big Mac stretched and formed to look like a freaking katana blade. One person with a chicken McNugget gun, literally shaped in the form of a chicken McNugget. One people with apple pie brass knuckles, and another person I think with a soft serve flamethrower that shot out white flames that could easily melt anybody in almost an instant. And there was others. There was another one, and I think a quarter-pound nunchucks too. Yeah, of course, at this point I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do at this point. And then the people start slowly but surely, literally inching towards me. Inch by inch, they started walking towards me. So what do? I grab the guy's foot and I twist it, and it breaks. And not only do I break it, but I yank it and it rips off of his appendage. Like that. It was so soft. And then I look at the guy, and he's screaming, of course. But instead of blood or anything like pouring out, ketchup. I'm not joking. Thick Heinz ketchup starts pouring out of the wound. Like that. And I'm not questioning anything at this point. After everything I've seen, I have no right to question anything. And I just sit there and I start beating the guy with his severed leg. And, I beat him to death. He's dead now. But the weird thing, though, about it is the fact that I had beaten him so badly that he was mashed up. But instead of human innards or any of those things, everything that flew out that wasn't ketchup was either chicken McNuggets, Big Macs, quarter pounders, or any other kind of food. And I'm looking down at this guy, confused, and then everybody else just looks at me shocked. And then they start shaking. And then one of them, their eyes turn, literally they turn into a pair of chicken McNuggets. They're changing. They literally they went from like a solid eye to a giant chicken nugget with a black dot in the middle of them. And they will say, "We will teach you for killing one of us." And they all go after me. Now, what do? Easy. I get the severed foot that I had, and I beat the living hell out of a majority of them. I've managed to easily divide them and everything and beat the crap out of them, ripping them open and everything, watching as McDonald's food spilled out of their entire bodies. And of course, I literally I threw deep fryer oil on all of them. I burned them. And by the end of it, I think about 20 to 30 minutes, they were all gone, dead. Everybody that was in there was dead. Even a couple of people too, I think. Although, then again, though, there were so many McDonald's items scattered everywhere that were pouring out of the orifices of so many of those customers, quote unquote, that it was hard to really tell anymore who these people really are, or were, or whatever the hell they honestly. Bleh. I don't know. And of course, the last person standing, shockingly enough, was a giant fat guy who still wouldn't move. And so I go and I reach behind a counter and I find a bow and arrow. So I crank it, I put one of the arrows in there, and I aim it at the person. Like freaking Hunger Games style, and I shoot it at him. It hits him directly in the middle of his belly. He immediately stares down at it with a scared look and says, "Uh-oh," and then explodes. Like, flat out explodes everywhere from McDonald's ice cream. I'm not joking. McDonald's ice cream literally exploded out of the man, including the cones, too. Everything. No blood, no gore, just ice cream. Everywhere. Coating the entire McDonald's and coating all over me at this point. I would have enjoyed it, to be honest, but I really kind of lost my appetite for McDonald's that day. In fact, I lost it for about a couple of years afterwards. Hence the reason why I think that was at my period where I was kind of iffy about McDonald's, but it was disgusting. I remember walking out of that McDonald's and just being completely and utterly shocked. Well, that is until I wound up finding a piece of paper literally taped on the door. When I pulled it off, it literally said that there was supposedly a secret organization meeting going on with the giant Illuminati hamburger people that were coming by to this specific McDonald's for a specific talk. And of course, that was going to be run by the same fish fillet lady that wound up deep frying herself and getting eaten by me. Of course, I myself was terrified, so I literally ran to the nearest hospital. Literally, I ran for like 3 miles. I had to get myself checked out, but everything was normal. Even now, everything has been normal. There's no problem, no issue, no mutation, nothing. Thankfully. Thank God, to be honest. But of course, I still was extremely confused. But of course, afterwards, I kind of forgot about the whole situation. That is until I wound up getting a knock at my door. It was like 5 a.m. or something, and I was like, oh my God, why are you people... No! I was going to ignore it and just be completely done and over with, but the knocking continued and persisted. So I just got sick of it. I got up. Nobody else was awake, so I just went over to the door and opened it up. Stupid idea to do that, because, I mean, you never know who that could be, but I did. And what I saw left me extremely puzzled at that point. 2 men in suits, but with giant cheeseburger heads. Literally, they look like the Mayor McFucking Cheese, but with sunglasses and, like, hats or something on top of them. I think they were fezzes. I mean, just 2 guys looking at me. Sunglasses down. They're staring straightway at me. And they say, "Riley, And I say, yeah. And then one of them immediately takes out a briefcase, pulls out a letter, and then hands it to me. This is for you. It is recommended that you open it up relatively soon. And then after that, both of them exploded. Same thing, ice cream. Don't know why, don't know how, they just exploded. Of course, I opened the envelope up, I opened it up, and needless to say, it was actually from the headquarters himself. In fact, it was from Ray Kroc himself. Turns out he wasn't dead. He was actually frozen in the McDonald's headquarters next to the Chicken McNuggets. And apparently he came back to life just to sit there and write me this letter. Apparently I had been banned from all McDonald's sites from now until the end of time because I managed to expose their New World Order Illuminati cheeseburger organization. And not only that, I had to sit there and not only be banned from there, but I was also forbidden from eating any remote kind of McDonald's product, because if I ever did, then likely chances I would probably turn into a reptilian monster bent on dominating the earth. And also because of that, I was also charged by the New World Order itself, pretty much claiming that I was sitting there and screwing with their entire mission and that I just needed to sit there and just fuck off and go die. And then the final words in and of their own self was a nice little wet kiss at the bottom with lipstick on it saying, XOXO, love you still, from Ray Kroc, the end. And that's pretty much what happened. And that, my little shadows, was how I got banned from McDonald's. It was a weird mess, I'll be honest with you. Wasn't exactly expecting the Illuminati, much less the Burger Illuminati out there. And don't worry, for any of you guys wondering, turns out there was a loophole. I actually wasn't banned entirely from going into any restaurants. I just had to come up with a different alias. So, that's exactly what I did. Every time I go to a McDonald's, I put on a giant afro wig and a bunch of crazy gloves of some sort and put on a thong, and I just walk right in and they don't even recognize that it's me. And of course, that was how I managed to get banned from McDonald's. And let me tell you all, it was definitely an interesting experience. Was it fun? Heck yeah. Was it scary? Oh boy, yeah. Was it inspiring? Most likely yes. One thing I do know though, who knew that McDonald's was the main leader of the Illuminati New World Order? Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this little story of mine, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. Also, I have a brand new channel. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but it's basically a place for any of you who like regular creepypastas to go to. If you're interested in seeing all that, make sure to go and check that out too. You guys should be able to see a link in either the description or at the very end of the video, and it should be an icon there. Click on that, subscribe to it, hit the bell notification, and check out all the videos that I have there. They're literally only 5 at the moment, so I mean, you can spare some time to watch some of them. But of course, even with that being said though, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys again for watching today's episode. And like always, roll the outro because I'm out. I'll be seeing you little shadows in the next episode. In fear and surprise as your eyes widen, your mouth goes dry with each battered breath. You try to scream, your mind begs to thee, glued to your computer screen. The killers they slash, the tapes burn and crash. The cartridge you bought will be your final haunt. The rituals of hate will seal your fate. The tears you shed will be from the fear-gripping horde-driven nightmarish gore-filled, terrorizing, hateful, burning, violent, rage-inducing, knife-slashing, blood-splattering, silent screams. Only time will tell if you will escape this online hell. Your horror-filled obsessions will come with its own regressions. Your pathetic screams will not be heeded in any way, because your nightmares will come at any day.